Hello, g'day. All right, what we're going to do now is just another little deeper look into drawings. We're going to check out some tools you might need to use on your part drawings. So I'm going to create a new sheet for, let's do P07. So I'll add sheet, and then I'm going to rename that sheet to P07. And from there, I can come to my view palette and I can choose to browse for new parts, and the part I'm going to choose is that P07 pulley wheel. Just going to think a little bit there, and I'm going to drag in, let's say, something like the right view of that pulley wheel. And I might just drag something up off it, maybe across from the side, something like that. Very good. And I'll drop that down. Righty, so I'm not really happy with that scale. Like we did in the general assembly drawing, we'll come to the sheet properties by clicking down the bottom there, and let's set this for now to 1:1, because I reckon we've got the space for it, and we do. So there's a few things we can do here. We've got these crosshairs, which are alluding to the fact that this is one nice clean circle. That's quite good to have. We probably want to start putting a few dimensions on this part. You know, all those dimensions we had previously, so we could put, you know, a dimension across that width there. Let's just delete that. That didn't really drop where we wanted it. So let's put that dimension in. We could put in that internal dimension between those 2 points as well. And while we're at it, we could even put our overall width dimension in. Why not? Live on the edge. All right, there we go. There we go. Very good. And let's just drop that there. Now you can often tune up the way these dimensions work. For example, see how all our other arrows to the inside, if we wanted to force this one to do the same, we can double click that arrow and there we see it flip onto the inside. Now I want to create a section view of this part. There's a few ways I could do it. For this one, I think I will grab I'll come to view layout. I'll come to section view. And I'm going to place a vertical cutting line right down the middle of the part, and I'm going to lock it to that center point so that I know it's nice and centered on my assembly. Section view, very good. And then I can drag this out like so. Now, I think all that stuff behind that is actually really overcomplicating what I'm looking at here. I'm really only interested in this section here for now. So I could select that view and I can change a lot of appearance settings about that here. First one I'm going to change is to a slice section. Very good. And I also want to change this crosshair pattern. I don't really like the look of that one. I don't think it's very clear, so I could come in and under material crosshatch I can unclick that. And I can look for something maybe like my steel cross-hatching, which should be a little bit more, not that steel, something like that steel should do it, which is a bit more of a typical, you know, a typical diagonal hatch, which is really what I'm after. That's what most people look for. All right, let's just go with that. That's probably going to be the best we get. But I don't like how big that is. I want to change the density, so I can do that using the scale here. Now to get into this toolbar, if you missed that, I just double clicked the hatched area. It's as simple as that. So double click that hatch area there or there, and it will open up with this toolbox. Alright, now this bit to me is kind of useless. I don't think I actually really need that at this point. It could be useful for me. You might want to keep it because that will allow you to dimension the offset of your ribs. For example, that could be quite a good dimension to have on there. If you don't think it's relevant, and maybe you did just want to work with that section down the bottom there, then what we can actually do is crop that view. So to crop it, first of all, we need a sketch or a bounding box to crop to. So I'm going to come into my sketch tools. I'll select a corner rectangle, and I'm just going to draw a rectangle nice and close over the area that I want. Then while that's selected, I'll come to View Layout and select Crop View. And that will just automatically crop to whatever I had selected there, which was that rectangle attached to that box. Now that, you might decide is upside down. We should be able to right-click the view, come to Zoom, Pan, Rotate, select Rotate View, and then rotate that 180, hit Apply, hit Close, and there we are, ready to rock. Now we got some funny stuff going on with our hatching. Let's just come in and check out what exactly is causing that. We might just want to change it to a solid and back to a hatch. There we go. Just needed a bit of a refresher in what we expected of it. And I'll hit tick. So then once you've got that section view, you can start to put on all the dimensions you need to express it. So you'd come to your annotation toolbar, choose Smart Dimension, and like we've already started doing, just drop some more dimensions where relevant across that component. Don't forget to dimension the draft angle. You do that by selecting the angled line and a reference line like so. And then you can drop that in wherever it suits. Very good. The other thing you may find useful is to be able to do a balloon call out, or in this case we'll just call it a call out. So we go to View Layout, and then we're going to use a detail view. So I'll select detail view. This will bring me into the circle drawing tool. I can then draw a circle over whatever area I want to show in detail. Let's say for argument's sake it's this section here. And I can then place a scaled up version of that target area anywhere on my drawing page. Now I might decide that that's not big enough. I might decide it needs to be way bigger than that. So I can come in and I can say use custom scale, and I could set that to 1:1, or I could even set it to 5:1, get it nice and big. Now we've got a lot of options on how this displays. My favorite one to use for these, because I think it is the clearest, if I make sure that's selected, instead of per standard, I'm going to choose connected. And what that does is connect the two balloons by a line, making it really incredibly obvious what we're talking about. Now, don't do this for the sake of it. Make sure you're doing it because there's a bit of information there that you need to talk about, something you need to dimension that you just can't fit on a smaller view. For example, here I might have decided that I needed to blow that up so that I could clearly label something like, let's put a bit of text here saying 1.5 mil radius on all internal edges, something like that. And again, just the worst toolbox in history. There we go. Now we could resize that text box if we think that that looks a little bit funny. I'll just double click it, and after it has a little bit of time to think, I can click and drag that around a bit like so. Now if you need to add your own center marks, you can use the center mark tool here, and then you simply click any radius and it will add the center mark to that radius. For example, what we've got there. This one's missing probably because it's outside of the cropped area. If we want to expand our cropped area to include it, we are able to. Simply click the cropped view, or right click the cropped view rather. There we go, that's the toolbar we're waiting for. It's just a little bit slow here, folks. Crop view, and let's say edit crop. That will show me the sketch and allow me to drag it up until it includes that detail we've just added. I'll hit OK, and now we can spot it there. And you know, that could allow me to say the center position, if I wanted to talk about what the center was of this circle. I think all we're going to really need is a radius on that anyway. You know, something like that. I can, like before, flip that arrow to the other side if I think that's a more useful dimension. And so on. Additionally, you might want a center line to show that something is symmetrical. So, if we wanted to say that this pulley wheel is symmetrical either side, then we could select two opposite surfaces or two opposite edges, and it will place the center line between those selected edges. We can then just click and drag it out to fill the space of that part. Very cool. All right. And finally, if you've used a sheet metal part, or if you've got any hole, you could use the hole callout to dimension that hole, and that will give us a little bit more information than normal. For example, this is telling us that it's a 13mm diameter hole that is drilled 25mm deep. We know it's 25mm because that's the depth of the aluminium there, or acetyl nylon in this case. Very good. So that should be a pretty nice kind of overview for you. One last trick which you might find useful is if you do select an area, say this area in here, you can add a hatch or a fill to that area. Just say you might decide it would be more clear if you had that area colored. Let's choose a region rather than boundary. Oh, it's all looking very slow and upset. Let's look for something maybe like that. Yeah, hatch, why not? We'll hit OK. I might just scale that up a bit. Unstable for projection. Alright, so because that's a round surface, it's actually just getting a bit confused. We should be able to add it a lot easier to any flat surface, such as this one down here. Let's hit go, and there we can see it's added a hatched area to there. Now that's kind of irrelevant there. There's no use of doing that, but there might be another application where you're trying to distinguish between bodies, where you want to change it to different hatch patterns. Who knows what you want to do? That will allow you to do it. Thank you very much. Feel free to email with any questions. Have a great week.